In recent years, something quite remarkable has been happening in the horror gaming scene. An authentic resurgence in the survival horror genre. While mainstream titles often lean into action, spectacle, and over-polished photorealism, the torchbearers for classic survival horror have become small independent teams and passionate solo developers. There's been a wave of longing to capture the raw, haunted energy of the 90s, the flickering static of CRTs, clunky tank controls, with some even opting for pre-rendered backgrounds. Every hallway a memory suspended in time. These creators aren't just building games, they're conjuring the spectres of the golden age, finding poetry in pixels with deliberate slowness and tactile unease. Most often, a standout indie horror title will lean rather heavily into a single inspiration, often being termed the new Resident Evil clone or yet another Silent Hill homage. We've grown accustomed to games that wear their influences on their sleeves, as if their very existence is to be a living echo of their predecessors. But sometimes, quite rarely, a title emerges that weaves not just one or two threads, but the entire tapestry of survival horror into its bones in a truly unique way. A game that's less a copy and more a communion, a love letter written with trembling hands to everything that moulded the genre. Recently, such a game stepped quietly onto the stage, combining elements from nearly every notable 90s horror classic into something eerily new, yet hauntingly familiar. That game is Heartworm. Overall, Heartworm flew somewhat under the radar until recent months, save for a few veteran fans of the genre who deliberately search for these types of games. The demo was released on Steam in autumn of 2022, with an eventual full release on the 31st of July 2025. I almost missed this myself. I'd only heard about the game through a fleeting mention of the demo from another YouTuber a few months back. But the moment I picked this up, there was no doubt this was a hidden gem. Heartworm draws not only from Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but incorporates mechanics and settings from Fatal Frame, Clock Tower, and even to an extent Tomb Raider. Yet it blends these influences with remarkable sensitivity. It never ends up feeling gimmicky. The game stands as a testament to what survival horror was, and what it still can become. So join me as we explore the world of Heartworm together. Before even getting into the gameplay, the settings allow this game to be perfectly tailored to old and new players alike. You have the option of tank or modern controls, retro or newer graphics, even a dithering filter and an arachnophobia mode, which I personally made great use of. Whether you've got that nostalgia for 90s horror and want to play this game in a purist fashion, or want a more comfortable experience that fits more with other recent games, the choice is yours to make. This is something we've seen more in recent indie titles, but I've not seen another title where you can customize quite to this extent yet. And with our settings finally tailored to our needs, our story begins. Clock.
Hey. Sorry you haven't heard from me in a while. I've been busy trying to find out about this place.
MSN, stop.
You're not gonna believe me, and I don't even know if I really believe it myself, but I guess a part of me must, because I'm going. It's far, on an abandoned road, a few miles from that power plant in the mountains. It was hard to find anything about it. I started on message boards, and I ended up in a chat room talking with people who know people who know people who've gone. They said a lot of crazy stuff, but the one thing that they all agreed on is that in that house, there's a room that can take you to the other side, to see the people that you've lost again. The thing is, no one who's gone has ever come back.
See, that's the part that reminds me of Stranger Things.
Not for advice, not to get you to talk me out of going. Actually, by the time you read this, I'll already be there. I just wanted to let you know, in case I don't come back. That way you won't be wondering where I've gone.
Oh!
Either way,
Oh god!
don't worry about me anymore.
Sorry, that spider just freaked me out.
I don't have any other choice. I just can't keep going on not knowing.
Oh. Didn't like that. Didn't like that. Why do they always appear at the corner of your eye? Why? Our protagonist is Sam. Unable to cope with the loss of her grandfather, she turned to the internet in desperation. She spoke with others gripped by loss, and following a rumour, we have come to an abandoned house in the woods. The rumour has it that it is possible to reconvene with your loved ones at this house, and so, armed with nothing but a camera, this is where our journey begins. Entering through a side door, we wander, mostly aimlessly. We don't have much to go off here, so our task is to find any clues that we can. In this house, in various stages of decay, we begin to find notes from the previous occupant, an anonymous author recording his wife's slow descent into dementia. He notes that at first she just began to forget little things, but then eventually she couldn't recognise her house or her husband any longer. The unravelling of their tales starts to give us clues as to where we need to head next. A hidden portrait in a side room bears the name Rose, which ends up being the password for the padlock, barring the entrance to the basement. Within here we can find part of an emblem, which combined with another piece that we find, goes into the attic. Up here we find one solitary door seemingly heading to nowhere, but with a perfect groove in the shape of the emblem that we have just found. With nothing left to do, we place the emblem within the slot and cross over. The rumours were true. We open the door and see an impossible staircase leading into a realm nothing like we've seen up until this point. At the bottom of the staircase is a single door which we're unable to open. With no further option, we turn and make our way back up the seemingly endless staircase. That is, until we near the top, and rather unceremoniously, our first monster has now spawned. Helpless, we make a run for it, sprinting back down the staircase and towards the only door available to us. And thankfully, this time it's open. Okay, now we can go through. Uh-oh. Oh god. Hi, Blight. Oh, what? Where the hell are we now? Enter the archive. Well, thanks for answering my questions, Team Achievements. Through complete accident, we've found ourselves in our second location, the archive. The archive serves as the central hub of this new realm, through which we can explore important areas of our past, bringing us closer to that beloved lost one. And with a steely determination, that is exactly what Sam intends to do. As we reach the end of the entrance bridge and Sam's monologue, we see the internals of this Goliath tower for the first time. In the centre of the room stands a tome full of chains with torn out pages. The words aren't even readable, and though it's useless to us now, it is obvious that this will become very important very soon. Crossing another short bridge over to the west, we get our first taste of combat through a static shield blocking our way. We clear it with our only line of defense in this game, taking a photo with the camera. Once the barrier is cleared, we continue to yet another realm. We are now entering the neighborhood. This is so neat. To baseball. Nice. Bit of light entertainment. Oh wait, I've just come out of another TV. Uh-oh. I thought she was just going to crawl back in and be like, nope, I'm done. Uh-oh. And here's the combat. Oh god. Don't get too close. Immediately upon entering the neighbourhood, we are faced with a static ghost very reminiscent of ourselves. And in true survival horror fashion, it is up to us to determine whether or not this battle is worth taking. Making a quick decision, I decided that these ghosts were not worth fighting. I could keep enough room from them, and I did not have the resources to be able to take them all one by one. While Sam is able to keep a wide berth from these monsters, they are a constant threat, and it adds a sense of urgency that we must find out what we have to do here, and quickly. The neighbourhood is a twisted version of the town that Sam was raised in. It has an uncanny valley feeling to it, that she recognises a lot of these locations, but they're not in the areas that they're meant to be. Her childhood friend's house is right next to hers, although she makes a point of noting that this should be much further down the street. And in a way that may feel familiar to a lot of you watching, so many roads are broken in half and not accessible, further cementing that we have no way out. The first thing I decided to do was travel to the furthest point of the map, finding a baseball field. A baseball bat can be picked up from a nearby bench, which is needed for a puzzle later on. And in the middle of the baseball field is a caged, unlit candle, loosely guarded by two more of the static spectres. The main objective of this part of the neighbourhood is to find and light 3 candles. The first of which is obviously found in this baseball field. Of course, our main obstacle in this scenario is the cage covering it. In order to lift the cage, we have to complete a full home run without being slowed down by these ghosts. Once doing this, the cage lifts automatically and we can go and light the candle using Sam's lighter. Admittedly, at this point, I had actually stored Sam's lighter as I didn't know if there'd be any purpose in it, which is a very rookie mistake on my part, so we'll have to come back to this later. Our next stop is a convenience store, which thankfully houses some film outside. Immediately upon entering, 2 more spectres will spawn. This leads to a quick dash to the desk where we can find a house key. Aside from a bottle of antiseptic, which I didn't really think was worth the risk considering it was being guarded by another spectre, there isn't really anything else for us in here, so we can leave this for now. But I've got to get
Sally lived
into.
here with her parents until her mom passed. She was a few blocks away though.
Okay.
It wasn't this close.
We come across a house I mentioned before, which belongs to Sam's old friend Sally. Upon entering, we come across yet another ghost, but more strangely, the house is knee-deep in water. While this doesn't initially make any sense, it doesn't take long for us to figure out why. Upon entering the bathroom and inspecting the overflowing bathtub, Sam makes a remark about how Sally's mom was apparently sick, but then they said that she drowned. Sally's mom chose to end her life in this bathroom, and it's clear that the house and family never recovered. It's in this bathroom that we find our second candle to be lit. After leaving Sally's house, we travel just next door to find Sam's childhood home. Using the key that we obtained from the shop earlier, we can get inside, which shows yet another strange interior. While the living room is unnervingly intact, the rest of the house is being torn apart by a purple void reminiscent of what we saw in the archive. On the living room table is a letter addressed to no one in particular. It's from Sam's school and includes our first hints of her troubled childhood. From the letter, we can deduce that Sam has been thrown out of the college of her choice. There's reference to the fact that they're sympathetic to Sam's situation, a loosely veiled innuendo that this is around the time her grandfather died. However, this letter is confirmation that their sympathy only extends so far and she will no longer be allowed to attend the school. Carrying on through the only door available to us, we begin on a winding path leading through a twisted version of the neighbourhood. Carrying on through the door at the end, we reach an undisturbed version of Sam's bedroom. On a table in the middle of the room is a chessboard. The board is set up in mid-game, and using a tutorial book nearby, we can deduce that we need to reach check in one move. I don't know what it is with survival horror games loving to put in chess puzzles. I've never played chess a day in my life, so you will probably find this significantly easier than I did. After watching me struggle for what I can only describe as far too long, chat finally helped me out with the solution. Completing this puzzle opens a drawer at the side of the chessboard and gives us a mod for our camera. And while we're not quite done with this room yet, ADHD got the better of me and I decided I wanted to check out the garage at the back of the house. Using the same house key we found earlier, we're able to open the door, and while it might not look like much at first, there are some very important items in this garage. The first thing that we find when we go inside is an obituary for Sam's grandfather. This provides us with quite a bit of context that we didn't have before. First of all, it goes on by outlining his interests, such as baseball and chess, two things that we obviously saw in Sam's bedroom. This is an obvious hint, if we didn't know already, that Sam and her grandfather were incredibly close. But then, the letter mentions that Sam's grandmother has already passed on, meaning her grandfather is the last person she had left. She's now completely alone. Swiftly moving on from this revelation, we can see at the far point of the room a shelf that can be pushed out of the way. Doing so reveals a small puzzle. Here is a hidden switchboard. If we flick all the switches in the right order, we can turn all of the lights green, and successfully doing so lowers a fold-out ladder from the ceiling. After going up these stairs, we discover another essential item for anybody playing the game for the first time, a camera bag. After opening your inventory and using the camera bag, we now have 2 extra item slots at our disposal. After leaving the house and carrying on further down the street, we eventually come across a multi-story building with 2 front doors, one of which we're unable to open at the minute, and another where the windows are filled with static. This door we can go through. We are immediately faced with a strange corridor, which for some reason is filled with snow at the opposite end. Continuing through the door here leads out to another snow-filled street. Yet again, a multitude of static ghosts start to spawn here, and we're directly facing a funeral parlour. In the front window are 3 unlit candles. Each one corresponds to one of the candles we need to light around this neighbourhood. A symbolic note is pinned to the wall outside, explaining the symbolism of a candle as a memorial space. This note indicates that each of the candles that we've found so far is linked to the memory of a loved one. The candle in the baseball field is related to Sam's grandfather, who loved the sport. The one in the overflowing bathroom relates to the friend's mother. And the third one we're about to come across. Tucked away at the end of the street is a staircase leading to an apartment block. When entering, Sam begins to recite her connection to this place.
I haven't thought about this place in years.
Of course there's more inside.
When I lived here it was definitely dingy, but I don't think it was quite this bad. Although I wasn't paying too much attention back then. The divorce was distracting all of us.
This is the apartment that Sam shared with her biological father. This was in the middle of a parent's messy divorce. Interacting with different objects shows that they never quite lived in the best conditions, which eventually led to Sam's grandfather stepping in and insisting that Sam go to live with them. At the end of the hallway, we see the third and final candle. This is pointedly placed outside of the last apartment in the hallway. Interacting with the door uncovers another memory from Sam. She remembers a family that lived here with a young child, one who sadly perished after a fall and who this final candle represents. Now that all 3 candles are lit, we can go back to the funeral parlour and see this reflected in the front window. The door is now open, inviting us inside while we're confronted with a morbid scene. Through an open archway on the left, we continue through and find a room dressed for a funeral. An open casket lies at the far end of the room, inviting us inside. Once we interact with the coffin, a small animation plays which takes us out of the neighbourhood and into a new area, the city. What the... Curiously, Sam gives us no commentary as to where we are at this point. No input as to what connection this place might have to her. It's a small detail, but up to this point, Sam has given us some sort of context as to where we may be, or at least an internal monologue. And arriving in this new place without any form of commentary, for some reason makes it all that more eerie. Outside, we find a second journal entry from the girl who lived next door. It appears as though she too crossed over in pursuit of her mother, and begins to see the same things that we do, including the monsters, and it's beginning to make her second guess her decision. While Sam continues to say nothing while under our control, the journal entry clearly echoes what we're feeling. We continue out onto the streets, and except for a save room hidden in a convenience store, this city seems completely barren. We pass empty storefront after empty storefront, tirelessly trying to make our way inside, and each endeavour is frivolous. That is until we eventually pass an unassuming alleyway. Ooh.
I've been racking my brain, trying to figure out why this city feels familiar. I think we may have come here when I was a kid. My whole family. Probably one of the last times we ever did something all together. The memory's so foggy. I think we came to visit distant family. I remember playing in a warehouse and getting in trouble.
Right on cue, this warehouse comes into view and we enter. Inside is a small labyrinth without much of a clue of what we're supposed to be doing here. As we ascend a staircase hidden in the corner and cross a gangway, a small object flickers into our view. A small crowbar, just out of reach. In order to get to this item, it's clear we're going to have to fight our way through to it. Stacks and stacks of boxes cut off so many of our pathways, and force us down one clear route through the storage shelves. While this may seem like a dull task at first, we're not left feeling that way for long. Shortly after rounding the corner, a stack of boxes falls directly behind us. From here, there is no turning back, and after rounding another corner, a chase sequence begins. A new static enemy spawns in directly behind us, forcing us further and further through this maze. With each new turn, the walls darken, forcing us to use the camera flash to light our way, and with each new turn, the static camera changes in a jarring way, disorientating us and increasing the urgency. After rounding one final corner, another stack of boxes comes crashing down behind us, sealing in whatever it was chasing us. We make quick work of retrieving the crowbar, breaking our way through a boarded up area before making haste and leaving this warehouse once and for all. We carry on to the end of the street, but it is completely blocked by a crashed bus. Using the crowbar, we're able to pry open the doors next to the driver's seat, which brings us to Heartworm's first boss battle. Found it straight away what I needed to. And we even get a cutscene. Cutscenes make me feel very uncomfortable. I was just doing this out of curiosity. I hope it's not a moving on section. I've not explored the area. Was that a xenomorph? What the hell is that? it's the crystals from Crash Bandicoot Warped. What? What's that? What? Is that supposed to look like that? That is literally the crystals from Crash Bandicoot Warped. What do you mean? Oh. What the... What? It obviously took me a second to realise, but this is what the arachnophobia filter does. For those of you that aren't the best with spiders, I'm going to keep this filter on, as what is underneath here is actually a giant Black Widow boss. For this fight, the spider will periodically charge towards us. It has some speed behind it, and the only way that we can interrupt its attacks is by shooting it with the camera. Every now and then the spider will scale a building, and in its place several smaller spiders will descend. These will also charge at you until they reach a certain range, at which point they'll explode, emitting a gas that can damage Sam. Rather than attacking, it's best just to force these to detonate and avoid them. Once the wave is cleared, the Widow will jump back down. After spamming enough shots from the camera, eventually the Widow will succumb. A small cutscene plays, and the Widow leaves behind a Neighbourhood page. Mode on! That's why it looks like a crystal! Oh, thank God. Thank God. Oh, good Lord. Whew. Okay. Neighbourhood page has been added to your inventory. Ding dong. Wait, I wonder if I'm gonna go back to the archive now. Am I done? I am back in the archive. Oh God. At least I'm safe here. Transported back into the familiar and ethereal presence of the archive, we are face to face with the tome. Remembering the torn pages from earlier, we place the Neighbourhood page inside the book, and this opens our next area. We ascend the staircase and proceed through the now opened gates. As we proceed through the corridor, we get a feeling of serenity, peacefulness. There's a sense of calm and comfort to this area that only magnifies with each step we take. Reaching a small, out-of-place door at the end of the hallway, we progress to the second chapter, the wilderness. Are these not pre-rendered cutscenes? What is that? Crossing over into this area left me momentarily speechless. This area was gorgeous. Not a dark corner can be found, and flowers and trees stretch on for as far as the eye can see. For anyone picking up the game from this point, it might be hard to believe that this is even a horror game. And then it dawns on you. In a game exploring grief, this is about how beauty and horror live in tandem.
My grandfather used to take me hiking here as a kid. I kept coming on my own after he passed. It was a grounding experience, something to get me out of my own head. My memories here are good, for the most part, but I stopped hiking here after some bad ones.
This stunning scenery holds both positive and negative memories for Sam, both joy and sadness living in conjunction. It's a stark reminder that much like what Sam is going through, all of these environments are complex. Descending the side of a hill, we come across a small dock. Placed precariously near the edge is a watermill key. We place this in our inventory and go back up the side of the hill. Here we come to another out-of-place door labelled the Devil's Den. On the other side of this door is a car park. Not much seems to be here, but when we approach the small notice board, we come across the first of 3 stories. These are 3 astrological tales from ancient Greece, and each outlines a different mythology associated with the stars. This one outlines a sea creature named Cetus, and while it may seem irrelevant now, we need to make note of this. Further down the path, we come across quite a large but a rather unassuming switch. Obviously, we're going to need to flick this, so we do, and then carry on into the next wooded area. This is the watermill. Immediately understanding what we have to do, we narrowly avoid being mauled by a dog that looks like it's made from pine trees, and enter the watermill using the key we just obtained. Inside, we find a note on the table which leads us to the first real puzzle. Upon inspecting the note, we get the watermill poem. And as somebody who spent a good portion of my life reading music, I started to notice a pattern. The start of each line began with a letter that was no further down the alphabet than the letter G. In music, the letters A through G correlate to notes that make up an octave. Once you get to an A or a G, the letters start to repeat for the next octave. And making this correlation, I decided to note all of these letters down. And sure enough, in the corner of the watermill is a piano. And when you put the notes that correspond to those letters into the piano, this happens. So we need C, D, E flat, G, F, D, E flat, F. I know a piano puzzle when I see one. Survival horror games and their piano puzzles, eh? As we saw from just outside the window, an opening has now appeared in the waterfall. We step into and follow round a winding, rocky cave, passing a stone statue that once again looks eerily like us, before eventually coming out to another switch and a hole in the ground with a ladder protruding from it. We once again and without question flip the switch before descending down the ladder. This brings us out into another larger cage with even more stone statues lying about. In the centre of the platform we're stood on are tracks for a minecart. Following this brings us to a key item, some bolt cutters. But it's at this point we come across another hurdle. After nothing more than a subtle head movement, the stone golem comes to life. While this monster isn't particularly hard to deal with, it does have a number of attacks which can hinder you. The first of which is a summoning of a stone circle. This traps Sam in a more confined area with the statue, meaning that you've got to both keep your distance and move quickly. The statue is slow moving, but once she gets close enough, she's able to lunge at you. In addition, she has another ranged attack, which brings up a series of stone spikes. Once the stone circle drops, it is easy enough to just outrun this monster, but given that she only takes a couple of clicks of the camera to defeat, either method is viable. After making our escape from the stone statues, we ascend back up the ladder, quickly round the corner in the cave, and back out to the watermill. While I didn't thoroughly check this area straight away, if you carry on all the way over to the right, there is another switch here being guarded by another dog. You've probably figured it out by now, but yes, there's a bunch of those switches, and we do need to flip all of them. Carrying up along the hillside brings us to a bit of an anomaly of a location. At first, we pass through a small planked path with absolutely nothing in it except for a couple more statues. After narrowly avoiding these, we continue on up the path and are led out to a clearing at the top of the hill. Only this area is the only one in complete darkness.
I remember coming to this lookout on a field trip to learn about the stars. At first, the vastness of it all was scary, but as I got older, it became reassuring. Our existence, improbable as it is, seemed to me like a miracle in itself. But that wonder faded over time. These days, I don't feel the same about the stars or anything, really.
A single telescope overlooks the skyline, littered with distant lights. A notice board to the side tells us another story of the constellations, this time between Andromeda and her mother, Cassiopeia. And while there is a third and final notice board we've yet to find, this gives us enough information to complete our next puzzle. Interacting with the telescope brings up the night sky. This puzzle is completed by clicking on the 3 constellations we've learnt about so far, those being Andromeda, Cassiopeia, and Cetus. Once these 3 constellations are selected at the same time, a box to the right immediately swings open. Inside is a blood kit. Without any context, it's an ominous item to pick up. With this area complete, we continue to the next, and some things start to fall into place. In the middle of this clearing is a currently out-of-use power station. Using the bolt cutters that we found earlier, we're able to gain access and see what's inside. Inside we have a display with a number on it next to another switch. Flipping the switch increases this number. From here, it's clear that the switches we keep on flipping are powering this substation, with the ultimate aim being to get this number to 100. Now, as is fairly typical when playing a survival horror game for the first time, I spent hours and hours and hours exploring the wilderness and backtracking. So rather than showing you the 7 hours worth of footage, let me get straight to the key points. Just next to the substation is a small path which leads you to a train yard. After making a path by clearing a series of boxes, you can get to the next switch. Further along you'll come across a small corn maze. In the middle is a falling down cabin. And to address the dough in the room, there is a dead deer on the floor which you can use the blood kit on. And at the backside of this cabin we have yet another switch. Eventually we stumble across another dark corner of this forest. Surrounded by a series of giant vine-like veins is a dead heart growing out of a giant blood-red tree. This is the heart of the forest, laying still among decay. The generator that we're trying to start acts as a giant defibrillator to this heart, with the blood we've taken from the deer wetting its dried veins. In front of the heart is a bone-dry fountain. A key item teases us by twinkling just out of reach. With a greater understanding, we now know that we have to breathe life back into this forest. So we continue by flipping the next switch just off to the side. Heading back through the corn maze, we come across another path. This leads out to a peculiar library, one lined with almost sky-high bookcases. But most unnervingly, in the centre is an altar connected to the sinews and veins of the heart. It's here that we empty the blood kit, the doe's blood quickly pumping life back into the veins. After heading back to the watermill and flipping the final switch that I missed earlier, our one remaining act is to finally turn on the generator. The heart is now fully restored. The heartbeat echoes throughout every corner of the wilderness, almost acting as an applause for a job finally complete. Now when we return to the heart, the item which taunted us earlier twinkles from the bowl of the fountain. Inside is a crank. And what exactly is that for? Well, the final route we haven't checked yet is right next door. Following a small path leads us out to a giant dam. And just next to us at the end of a platform is a mechanism missing its crank. When we use the crank on this machine, the dam springs to life, draining the basin beneath us, and revealing a very long, very ominous spiral staircase, inviting us, of course, to descend further. Naturally, we oblige and end up in another cave system. There isn't an awful lot for us to do down here, but there is a save station and a small healing item, so I think you can guess what's coming next. With one more quick save, we round the corner to face our next boss battle.
There is. Huh?
Another cutscene? She's making me really want to get like an outer leg sleeve so badly. Oh? Oh, wait a minute. That's a very square looking log. You'll be fine. Uh-oh. Oh, what the hell is that? Are we at another boss battle? Oh, good lord. I mean, I couldn't see the first boss, but this definitely looks like another. Oh, they're like bear dogs. God, it's like a Wendigo. Oh, that's broken. Ooh! Okay, I guess I'm not coming back to this part. Oh! Sam? And not a drop on her. Look at her, professional. Oh, I thought maybe we'd get a bit of respite and then it'd come back, but nope. What is that tongue all about? Oh! We are now face to face with the deer. Unlike the spider, this boss is much less aggressive. Rather, this boss is hidden and we have to traverse these narrow pathways of the forest trying to seek it out. Once close enough, the deer will spring from the bushes to attack Sam. After the initial jump and with just enough time to recover, it then charges and headbutts before screeching and finding a new hiding place. With enough line of sight, it is possible to get a few clicks on the deer before it ever jumps from the bushes. And so long as you can see the initial pounce, it is easy enough to avoid the deer. Unfortunately, there are a number of dogs also hiding that you need to be wary of. But with keeping enough distance and enough spamming of the camera, it is easy enough to defeat this boss as well. I did it! Wilderness page has been added to your inventory. Okay. The clock again. We're transported once again back to the safety of the archives. Following the same actions we took earlier, we place the newly acquired wilderness page into the tome, opening the gates and giving us access to our third and final area. Starting across the final bridge, our environment twists into a myriad of cogs and clock pieces. We are now entering our greatest challenge yet, the clock tower. I swear to God, if the boss in this is Scissorman. Yep. We're definitely going into a clock tower. Yes.
The chiming that's been haunting me. It's from here. What is this place meant to be? Is that clock counting down? Regardless of what it means, I need to face it. It's time.
Wait, is this like the final segment? Because I would have thought that this would have been like, you know, you finish the 3 main zones and then you go off to a boss battle or something? Maybe. Enter the clock tower, there it is. The clock tower is the segment of the game where Heartworm wears all of its inspirations unashamedly on its sleeve. Aside from the obvious setting of the clock tower, the outside areas look like they've been taken straight from the other world of Midwich Elementary School, and the outside of one of the save rooms is a literal carbon copy of the east wing of the Spencer Mansion. And while yes, this is the most on-the-nose reference that we've had so far, none of it feels gimmicky or distasteful. Rather, it's a wink and a nudge. A reminder that Heartworm is a survival horror game made for and by survival horror fans. I just wanted to take a second to acknowledge this, as up until this point we have seen pretty unique gameplay and environments, but I really did appreciate the acknowledgement here, and overall I loved the clock tower. You'll see why. In this section, we have to find a series of emblems, the first of which is on the coffee table in front of the fireplace. And travelling further into the room, we come across a display case with 4 distinct podiums. Here we need to place 4 specific items from Sam's past, present, and future. I decided to cover the west wing first, which led me out to a dilapidated dining room. The static ghosts from the neighbourhood have returned and are patrolling these halls. I narrowly avoid having any more health taken off me by dodging into a side room, which predictably leads me out to a series of small claustrophobic hallways. Here we encounter another enemy type similar to the hunters from Resident Evil. These amphibious creatures suspend themselves from the ceiling, dropping down when you're in range and pouncing at you. For the most part, you can outrun them, so I'd advise saving the film and just running away. Further down the hallway is a door with a delta-shaped relief. We use the emblem that we found earlier to unlock the door, and surprisingly, we're teleported to a new area. We're now in a hospital, and with nothing but locked door after locked door. It appears as though the only one available to us is marked by a green light and leads to a stairway. We make our way up to the 3rd floor, where we're met with even more locked doors. Wondering if there's anything this hospital has to offer, we round the corner and are met with a peculiar scene. This hallway contains a series of 4 rooms, each of which shows a moment frozen in time, and populated solely by shadowy figures. In front of each of these scenes is a single red bulb, accompanied by a button and the question, will we press it? It's clear that these need to be illuminated in a certain order, but at this moment in time I'm not sure what that is. And so without any further hints, I continue my exploration. As it turns out, I did actually miss another unlocked door earlier. Heading back to the main reception of the hospital and heading through the door directly opposite, we are led to an office room. When rounding the corner, we come into another small room and are immediately faced with a series of TVs. Each TV rhythmically repeats a set of words: complacency, uncertainty, mediocrity, and mortality. These are the words corresponding to each of the scenes upstairs. It's just up to us to determine which one relates to which. Heading back to the 3rd floor, I deduce that complacency relates to the couple watching TV. Uncertainty relates to the shadowy figure falling through all the open doorways. Mediocrity is the artist with her head in her hands, surrounded by blank easels. And finally, mortality is for the guest sat next to the empty hospital bed, surrounded by flowers. With the final button pressed, our door opens. Crossing into the now open room, we find what looks like a baby's hospital crib. Inside is a crucifix, symbolising the first moment of importance in Sam's life: her birth. Once we pick this up, we start an animation very similar to that found in Silent Hill 4's The Room, and are teleported back to the clock tower. Now at this point, I'd been playing the game for nearly 7 hours straight, and I was getting pretty stuck, so I did what any other rational person would do, and started throwing shit at the wall and seeing what would stick. Very quickly test that theory. The invisible tile theory. Nope, that wasn't it. What about... I think I walked straight off the edge here before, so... Oh my... What did I tell you? What did I tell you? Do I try this side? Oh my god. Oh. Girl is a cheater, came back to falling. I was literally like, you know what? I'm gonna throw a Hail Mary here and hope and pray that my theory that there are invisible tiles at this bit is accurate. Oh my god, look at me go! How have I just done that? No, stop it. Stop it. As if. It is worth noting at this point that on my next playthrough, I did actually find the correct way to solve this puzzle. On the 3rd floor, you can find a multi-grade developer which combines with the photo in the darkroom to reveal where the platforms are. I just happened to remember the invisible platform levels in the older Tomb Raider games at this point, and was so lost everywhere else that I figured that I'd just give it a shot. And it turns out that I'm pretty good at guessing where a developer would place these platforms as well. With the Omega emblem now in hand, we can head back to the dining room and go to the door at the far end of the room. Of course, the emblem fits like a glove and it opens the door to our next area. Absolutely terrifying but comfortingly familiar all the same, we proceed into the subway. Passing through a broken turnstile, we descend into pitch blackness. We activate the flash in our camera to illuminate some of the way and find that the platform is completely covered in mannequins. Briefly, I feel comforted at the fact that none are moving until one does. Try as I might, I waste several rounds of film only to discover that these mannequins will not go down. It's at this point I start running. I pass a heavily chained door in the middle of the platform before running to the far end of the concourse. For those of you that are Silent Hill fans, you'll know that we have to run off the edge of the platform. We follow along the edge of the tracks until we reach a barely illuminated door. And crudely taped to the metal is a key. Exactly what I need. Probably against my better judgment, I decided I didn't want to continue until this platform was thoroughly searched. This led to me going down the other side of the concourse and finding a strange static protruding from the wall. Taking a picture clears the static from the wall, and in its place is a clock tower photo. Now, unbeknownst to me at this point, there are several photos you can collect throughout the game, but we'll come back to that later. I loop back to the heavily chained door with even more mannequins now hot on my tail, and use the newly acquired key to break through the chains. The view that this then gave me did slightly confuse me, because descending into absolute darkness like this made me think that a cutscene was about to play, or at least an animation to get into the next area, but no, it is just complete darkness. With a few camera flashes, I'm able to light up the area and it takes us down to a lower platform. There's a stationary train here which I enter through an open door at the end of the platform, and to be honest, I started getting traumatic flashbacks to the escort missions with Elaine from Silent Hill 4. But even though the horrors persist, so do I. I carry on through a maintenance store at the end and we are transported to a completely new area once again. Where am I now? Are you kidding me, Sam? If you're late again, it's another write-up. I don't have time to deal with this. If you can't take this job seriously, we can find someone who will. Get to your desk, get to work. And don't stop until you clock out. Or else. We are taken to another key moment of Sam's life. And whereas the hospital where Sam was born was somber yet calm, this is the most frantic portion of the game yet. Here we play the part of Sam in her office job. And for this section we have to repeatedly get documents from this PC in the middle of the floor and take them to the relevant colour-coded departments. And all the while more and more mannequins will spawn and chase us down from every corner. It's easy enough to avoid them at first as they are quite slow, but the difficulty rapidly amps up as more and more of them congregate in small hallways, making it impossible to get past them in some points. There's also an incredibly high energy soundtrack for this point, and did I mention our boss is verbally abusing us over the intercom the entire time? It's clear that at this point in Sam's life she feels utterly disrespected. She barely has a foot on this corporate ladder, taking orders and running between departments under monumental amounts of stress, all while her superiors speak down to her, constantly telling her to obey and that she is worthless and replaceable. If this represents Sam's daily life, it's no wonder that crossing over seemed like the better choice. After delivering our final document, we make our way back to the photocopier and obtain Sam's work ID. Alright, enough. That was painful to watch. Pack up your stuff and clock out. Clock out. Don't even think about wasting HR's time. Grow up, act like an adult and get this done. Harsh. We are again transported back to the main hall, and it was at this point that I decided I was going to start putting some of these mementos on the display case. As soon as you place the first item, no matter what that is, the third floor becomes available on the elevator. So after placing the crucifix and the work ID, I decided to go and check it out. Just like with the other floors, I decided to go with my subconscious British bias and check out the left side first. I quickly cleared out the hunter monster that was patrolling these halls and decided to go in the first door that I find. And inside is an absolutely gorgeous gallery. Now, this isn't the first one that I've seen. When exploring the first and second floors of what is irrefutably the Spencer Mansion, I did already come across two different galleries, each of which houses a single painting and a book on a pedestal in front of it. When inspecting the book, we get a single line of text accompanied by a number, each of which I've been writing down. 2. Desires what she does not need.
This room is so different from all of the others. Almost as if it was built in reverence of this piece of art.
And all of a sudden we're in Parasite Eve. Oh god, what is that?
Another gallery. I feel so conflicted about artists whose work is enduring. I don't think I'll ever measure up. It makes my life feel meaningless.
It's a bit harsh. 1. She dwells prolonged on what has been. 3. Deprives herself of joy within. There is a fourth gallery to make sense of all of this, and luckily for us, it is just around the corner. Heading back out to the hallway and travelling to the next door along will take us to the upper floor of the library. Travelling across this walkway will take us conveniently to another save station. I quickly free up some inventory space, and then it's off through that door on the left to finish this puzzle. What is this? Where am I?
I wonder why I haven't thought about it like this before. The effort is worth it for its own sake. Making art, just trying to survive. In the end, it's all worth something. It has meaning. Whatever I can do, however I can do it, that's where my meaning comes from. All that matters is that I try.
4. And dreads all that may never be.
When my time does come, if I looked back and realized I was so terrified of everything that I never did anything, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself.
Oh, all of those have a word that starts with D. Okay, so we started with dwells. And then it was desire. Oh, right beneath it. And then dreads, which is there. Okay. That poem sounded familiar. Did I write it or just read it somewhere? Hey, and now we've got the Omega emblem. I don't remember coming across an Omega emblem. And that's because at this point in time, I hadn't. But we're about to. Heading through the only other door available to us takes us to a short hallway and another set of double doors. This takes us to another peaceful outdoor space, only this time we've got a couple of static ghosts in there that don't seem to bother with us at all. But deciding not to tempt fate and bait a hit out of them, I run straight to the doors at the other side. Here I place the Omega emblem and we are taken through our third portal. While this initially looks like yet another gallery, when we continue on, we actually see a distorted view of a house in the distance. Although this doesn't look familiar to us, we carry on and enter through the front door like it's the most normal thing. And actually, it is. This time we've been transported to the future, where this is Sam's house. Throughout the house are a number of grandfather clocks, each pointing to a different hour on the face, and each new clock has a word and a symbol engraved beneath it. There are 11 of these throughout the house, so I made a note of each and made sure to inspect every corner. But as I'm exploring, we pick up on a few grim details.
An old ashtray and lighter on an ornate tray. If this is my future house, I guess I still smoked a lot. Not sure how I feel about that. Wait, future house?
We note the still lit cigarette in the ashtray in the living room, and as I carry on exploring, I can't help but notice several thick, heavy cables running from room to room, as though the house itself is on life support. Once we've noted every clock in the house, we head upstairs and to the end of the hallway, where there's a slider puzzle waiting for us. Thankfully, a lot of these are already in the correct position, meaning we only have to make a handful of moves and the puzzle is complete and the door opens. And on the other side is Sam's bedroom, complete with a hospital bed that's been propped against the wall.
Ooh. Journal entry 5. Why did I have to come here? I should have known better. From all my research, I knew that no one who tried to find this place has come back. Why did I think I'd be any different? This place I'm in now, it's not like the other areas. I feel this creeping sense of dread, of my time running out, of something terrible happening at the end. I'm so tired. I can feel the anger draining out of me, along with everything else. If I could, I'd take it all back. I wouldn't have looked for this place. I would have accepted that she was gone and moved on. God, I wish I could.
Another journal entry from Sam's childhood friend reflects our viewpoint upon finding this room. We head out across this crumbling walkway and pick up another item. A eulogy. Back in the main hall, I place this on the display stand before heading back to the third floor. I take the hallway on the right side and head all the way to the end through the double doors, which takes me outside to Midwich Elementary School's other world. I mean, not really, but come on. Reaching the other end of the catwalk, we come across a ladder that we need to climb down. And now that we've accessed this part of the second level, we can reach the other end of the platform and get to this crate. Pushing this crate into the open cage acts as a counterweight, which lifts an emblem to the other side. Thankfully, this also releases a loose piece of metal from the third platform, making it easier for us to cross to the other side. Which we gladly do and go and pick up that beta emblem. With that, we head back inside to the lower floor of the library and we can open our final door.
Figures I would end up here eventually.
Is this a school?
I hated school. I hated being told what to do, how to think. It felt like all they wanted was for me to be their puppet. And all I wanted to do was figure it out on my own.
We're transported back to Sam's school years, which were clearly another traumatic part of her life. In rooms completely overrun with monsters of all kinds, we make our way through the library, the swimming pool, and another hallway. At the end of this pursuit, we're met with a single classroom. After climbing the stairs up, they fall behind us. There's no usable doors, no way out. The only thing we can interact with is a TV.
Quiz time. Question 1. Your friend's mom is really sick. Every time you hang out with her, with your friend, she's sad and cries. Should you feel bad for not wanting to hang out with her? Yeah? She's going through a hard time.
The room resets, and once again we can only interact with the TV.
Ew. Your dad works late every night, so you don't see him much. One weekend, he asked to spend the day with you, but you already made plans with your friends and turn him down. Why would you turn him down? That's your dad. Should you feel bad for ditching him? Yes.
We select our answer, and the room resets once more. We continue to submit our answers to the TV, with each one gradually getting darker and darker. Rather than asking as if we feel bad, the fourth question asks, are you a bad person? And from here on out, while the scenario changes, the question remains the same. By question 6, we're given no scenario and are asked outright, are you a bad person? No matter what we pick, the room resets once more. We're again invited to the TV, where this time there is no question, simply a statement. You are a bad person. We make our final submission and the room resets one more time. We approach the TV and this time we can take a VHS, our final item. With one final slot left on the display case, we place the videotape, and the clock above the elevator progresses to midnight. The button for the rooftop illuminates. It is time for us to meet our end.
This must be the end of all of this. There's nowhere left to go now that I'm here. This is it. Just like the others, I came here trying to find out what comes next. What's after? I was so focused on getting here, on getting out of here, on being somewhere else, doing the same thing I've always done, even before all of this. All that time spent fearing the end I was actively searching for, but never paying attention to what was happening as it was happening. Was I wasting my time? Not because how I spent it was meaningless, but because I refused to experience life as it was passing by?
The clock tower page falls neatly to the top step, waiting for us to take it. After pocketing the page, we try the ancient door in front of us, but to no avail. Our only option is to pass through the door of a nearby tomb. Thankfully, we're taken straight back to the archives, or we can deposit the final tome page.
These are my thoughts. From the time I was able to form my first words. Half of this doesn't make any sense. My childish thoughts are all jumbled and mostly nonsense. I can tell when I started to grow up. I was so sad, frustrated, scared. I felt like the world betrayed me. Looking further in, holy shit, the words are appearing as I think. 1, 2, testing. Ugh, I'm getting nauseous reading what's in my head as I think it. It's time to close this book and get out of here.
This entire time, the unreadable tome that's been in front of us has been Sam's life. And with the clarity that we've earned along the way, we can finally decipher the words and its true meaning. This is our story, and we choose how it ends. Heading to the item box, I retrieved the clock tower photo that we found earlier. In the corner of the room stands a lone machine where I can deposit this item. I'll get into why later, but for now, let's continue. I head over to the newly revealed key, making sure to grab it before heading back onto the rooftop. Using this, we can now finally progress through the ancient door, and so begins our final battle.
Find any other camera mods? I've just realised that. Oh. We're in the other world. Oh, we're in the clock tower, okay. Oh, God. Is the platform crumbling? Yes, it is. Oh! Oh! Not in between the gears! Not in between the gears! Oh! Don't like that. Oh. Oh, this is the monster that chased us into the archive, isn't it? Ooh. Is the clock gonna hit her? Oh! Oh, he's big! Oh, he's very big. Hello!
Finally, we are face to face with the Tape Master. And unlike the other bosses that we've faced so far, we cannot just spam this one with the camera shots. To defeat the Tape Master, you mostly need to avoid their attacks until they become vulnerable. The first wave is a series of, I guess, wardrobes falling from the ceiling. These are indicated by a shadow on the ground and makes them pretty easy to dodge. But be careful, because at the same time the Tape Master will slam their fist down, which creates a ricochet effect. This happens 3 times on the left, middle, and right side of the deck, so if you keep this in mind, it makes them pretty easy to avoid. Next, the Tape Master performs a sweeping attack, so if you run to the furthest point, you'll be well out of range. And then they turn around, manipulating time to turn this to a night battle.
Ow. Ooh! It's nighttime. Oh, it's this. Oh, they've got the thing! Like at the start. Ah! And he's got fire eyes on me. Lovely.
4 lanterns filled with static descend from the ceiling. At the same time, the Tape Master is firing projectiles at us. We need to quickly maneuver around the platform, getting to each lantern and snapping a picture to illuminate it. Once we successfully do this, the Tape Master will double over, allowing us to finally get a shot on him, before repeating the process once again. We repeat this only once before this happens.
Is that it? Oh no! Oh, second health bar!
Of course, there's a second health bar. Thankfully, this plays out mostly the same as the first round. Except rather than wardrobes falling from the ceiling, we have reams of tape sprouting up out of the ground, and covering a slightly bigger surface. This time the Tape Master slams his hand down 4 times instead of 3. And rather than a sweep of their hand, they do this. Once again, the battleground shifts to night, and this time we have 5 lanterns to illuminate. The Tape Master falls forward, and we click and do it all again. Once again, there's only 2 rounds of this, and after we deliver our final blow, we get our closing cutscene.
Oh, there's only 2! I thought there was going to be a third health bar, potentially. Oh man. Please don't give me a QTE right now. Oh god. Oh, are we still in the clock tower? Oh no, the camera's broken. Oh. Oh my gosh, her character model looks so different. Is that us?
These photos.
Congratulations. You made it. Though,
Oh.
for a moment there, I thought you might end up like one of them.
Made it? What are you talking about? Who are you? What is this place?
I wish I knew. I was exactly like you. Until I made it to the end. I fought so hard, hoping for answers.
The journal. It was yours.
My journal. This
It's
place
Sally.
has a mysterious way of holding on to our memories. Mine must have melded somehow. My understanding of this place is deeper, but not complete. I've been here for so long, but I still don't understand it.
What happens now?
To be honest, I don't know. I couldn't stop you before you got to the end. I don't even know why I tried. I think I was afraid of what would happen if you succeeded. So when you beat me, I fled. But this place, it brought you back to me. Maybe it's my time. It's come to an end.
Why even stay here in the first place? Did you ever try to leave?
Try to leave? I had no reason to. There's nothing for me out there. But then again, this place, it takes everything that you have. It shows you the worst parts of your life. The terrible things that haven't happened to you yet. And then it traps you. I couldn't leave. At least when I took the cloak, I felt like I belonged here.
Before I came here, that's when I felt hopeless. I was only focused on my own misery. But the further I explored, the more I realized that this place, our memories, our fears, they don't define us. Whether you planned it or not, your journal and those photos of those who couldn't make it as far as we did, they helped me. Helped me realize that I'm not alone. So many others came before me, and their stories ended here. But I don't think ours has to. We made it this far. That has to count for something.
I don't know. I do want to believe that. I am glad you're here. But even if you're right, I don't think there's any way for me to escape this place. I've gone too far, spent too long here. I've become a part of it. And I'm afraid there's nothing left for me in that world.
I can't promise anything for sure.
I wonder if she's the only
We'll
Tapekeeper.
never know if we don't try. Will you just try with me?
Oh. Are we back in the house? Like the original house? Wait, didn't a journal entry say something about going into one of the houses and just locking the room and falling asleep? Guess that's what we did after all. That was foreshadowing. Oh, she left the camera.
And that's it. A typical playthrough of Heartworm can take 4 to 6 hours and features 3 endings. The endings that you get aren't really dictated by your gameplay or choices that you make, but actually by how many of the photos you collect throughout the game and feed to the machine in the archives. That means that in one playthrough, you can actually experience all 3 endings, so long as you save all 3 of the photos until right before the final boss with the Tapekeeper, and save before putting them into the machine. For the stays ending, which is the worst ending you can get, you don't want to put any of the photos into the machine. This sees Sam trapped in the ghost realm with the Tapekeeper despite wanting to leave. If you put 1 or 2 photos into the machine, you will get the leave ending. In the leave plus ending, which is the true ending, and can only be achieved by feeding all 3 photos into the machine, we get an ending that is mostly the same as leave. Instead, where leave would usually cut with the shot of the camera on the porch, it then cuts to Sam in her bedroom. She turns off the computer and takes down some of the newspaper clippings from her wall. She picks up a nearby photo frame, gazing at it for a moment before setting it down on her dresser. As the camera zooms in on the picture, we see an old photo of Sam and an old, familiar friend. Heartworm is a gut-wrenching exploration of grief. Sam and the authors of the journals throughout the game each willingly venture into this alternative realm as they're unable to cope with life without their loved ones. In Sam's desperation to see her grandfather again, she throws herself into this realm at her own expense. She even acknowledges in her opening note that she may never return to this world in pursuit of seeing him again. In the traditional stages of grief, this could be somewhere between denial and bargaining, truly believing there is somewhere that her grandfather is still tangible and willing to sacrifice herself for him. It's only as she confronts the horrors of this alternate realm, both literally and figuratively, does she start to accept her loss and fight for her own survival. To those of you that haven't been following me for that long, I sustained 2 huge losses of loved ones in 2024. It's the type of grief that you don't just take a few months to overcome, but an impact that you know will stay with you, that over time you have to accept, adapt to, and learn to live with. When reading many of the journal entries throughout Heartworm, from characters trying to process the slow or sudden tragic demises of their loved ones, I found myself relating to what these characters were going through on a deep level. The writer does a spectacular job of capturing the raw emotion of these people who are caught somewhere between the stages of grief and their journey towards acceptance. It's done with a balance of sensitivity and authenticity in a way that I can only commend the developer for. The passion and commitment that they had to meticulously crafting this project over the course of 3 years truly shines through, and I hope that they reap the success of that. It's not often that a game like this comes along, and I can hand on heart say that as soon as I wrapped up my first playthrough on stream, I immediately started a new one while chilling out on my Steam Deck. When I say that I haven't felt this way about a new game in a very long time, I mean it wholeheartedly, and I cannot recommend Heartworm enough to my fellow survival horror fans. I'd like to extend a big thank you to those of you who stuck with me this far into the video. This isn't typically the type of content that I'd make, but this game had quite a profound effect on me that made me want to put some more time and effort into sharing the story with you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe for future content, and let me know in the comments if you like this more video essay style format. For those of you that prefer raw playthroughs and want to interact with me in real time, I actually stream all of these games in full, both here on YouTube and over on Twitch, the link for which is down in the description box. If you watch this and decide to catch a stream, please let me know, and it will let me know to script some more like this in future. Thank you all again for watching this far. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.